Hello, everyone, and thank you for participating into this webinar or at least presentation. My name is Haider. I'm going to be your MC or host for the next, I guess, 30 minutes. So I am having the pleasure to welcoming you to, I think, one of the first time I'm presenting the firm I founded 12 years ago, which is an interesting journey. So I'm going to answer a list of questions that my team prepared me that we received in the last, I would say, 3-4 months. So we compiled a lot of the reason why we wanted to go live and to answer those questions is because we know some of you do have questions and do wants to know more about our firm and understand, what are the differences between what is Kainjoo doing, what is Allegory Capital doing, and why we have separate entities and why we have separate companies and why am I running basically Allegory Capital on one end and still basically promoting the great work Kainjoo does, and why I still believe strongly that Kainjoo does need to exist to serve its mission and purpose. If you have any questions, you can have, I think, questions. There will be someone monitoring the questions that you might have, the comments. So feel free to ask any question you might have. I can actually bring some of your question up on the stage. If there is no more questions, I'll just wrap it up. But the flow is going to be the following. I'm going to give you an introduction of who is the company, why it exists, what's mission and purpose. I'm going to come back on the roles, the open roles we have, and how are we structured, and why do we have those roles open. I'm going to also come back on some of the elements that makes our culture so different and so strong. So I wanted to be super clear on that. And I wanted to explain also who are the customers, what type of jobs do we do, what are the missions that company is tackling, and why we have actually also in the group separate entities that are giving us an edge in the way we innovate. So without further ado, I'll start with a presentation of the company. Again, remember we will have some moments where you can chat, or I will actually pose and see if you guys have questions. There will be also a recording that I will share by email. So if you are not part of our subscription list, just go on the website and just add yourself, or just chat. The next step, so presentation of the company. So I created this company because I felt that marketing, communications, and sales were totally disconnected from the great structure some automotive industry had. So I came from the automotive industry, and I worked in a quality department. And when you look at those quality department or IT department, they are so much structured that when I joined some of the teams, and some of them will recognize them, so that's why I'm smiling. It was, I would not say it was chaos, but they were free spirits. And my job back then was to use the craft that I had to create order for scalability issues. We wanted to do a global template, for example, for a website and scale it in 50 countries. And you need to have SOPs. You need to have a bit of a rigorous execution of that type of job. So that's when the company that I created took form. I really felt there were too much hype sometimes, too much on the creativity side, too much effort, but not enough to actually do adoption and scalability. So this was, I'm personally still obsessed by those two words. I really want to see if technology can be adopted by humans, and I really want to see whatever we get out of the door shipped and scaled to anywhere, in the world. So that was the premises. And obviously, some of the companies that were needing this were regulated companies. So also a word on regulated. I get a lot of question on everything is regulated. Of course, everything is getting regulated. And of course, it's going to be even more regulated in the years to come. But if you look at the code of conduct, what it means like something that really protects the entry, the market entry. You have to really work hard to launch a pharmaceutical drug, for example, and it is regulated so much that any word you say is screened and checked by a specific team. And the same in banking, same in energy. You have those industries that are pretty boring for some, but exciting for others like me, where you really have to think twice before doing something because the stakes are too high, right? So that's basically where we wanted to focus our energy. We also have 70% of the business we do globally is related to healthcare, life sciences. 20% is related to what we call X-tech companies, so industries that are embedding tech more and more, like it could be bank, insurance, telecom, energy, even gaming. We do have some gaming companies because of the regulated aspect they have around the PEGI, with the kids. And basically why we wanted to also exist is to reconciliate, and that's what you see on the screen. We wanted to reconciliate the two words of Kaizen, which is continuous progress, always trying to fight waste and increase, the likelihood of reaching out to that scalability issue, that adaptability issue. And we wanted to also, and we are sensitive to graphic design, UX, UI, marketing, emotional marketing. So we wanted to not just be robots and, with time clocking and efficiency and quality and timelines and so on. We wanted to also create an experience. And that is also where you see those two words combined. So moving on, just to not take too much time on this. We are Swiss, established here in Morges, right in the heart of the Romandie. We are also basically very much embedding those Japanese methodologies inside the work we do. So it's not just folkloric, it's not just for fun, it's not just you see Kaizen, Six Sigma as something that is nice to say. We truly embed this inside the everyday job we do. And then basically, if I go next, we do have customers that are pretty much across the board, global companies. I will not stay too long on that, but we did work a lot for those companies. And some of the interesting bit, I don't know why we took that direction. We became a tier 2 or tier 3 provider of existing supplier for those brands. So it means like you can have a company that is working for, for example, I don't know, Galderma, and we were basically a company behind Galderma, working for Galderma. So we managed to equip ourselves with a huge industry memory and a huge amount of methodologies that helps us scale in various therapeutic areas, in various markets, and that makes us interesting. The other way we build value is, and this is something that might shock some of you, is we are not a organizational consulting firm where we basically just shuffling, the way people are organized. We really believe in the power of the brand, and all the work we do start with a brand. And from that brand, we either go look inside how the brand is structured to go outside, and we will look at the organization, the process, the platform that the brand has at its disposal to do the job. But we also look at how the brand is actually pushed outside or create that inbound effect. And that will go with advertising, that will go with data-driven solutions, services, content, you name it, right? So we try to de-silo, in fact, that conversation. And we really, really push customers to stop putting like an SEO agency here, then an emailing agency there, and a Salesforce Marketing Cloud partner there. And it's just creating so much chaos. And that's most of the time why we don't see maturity happening in those regulated brands. It's just too much spread and no one really owns anything at the end of the day. And worse, actually, your sponsor is leaving the company every 2 years because they are moving up the ladder, right? So that makes it sometimes even I do remember we are the company memory for some brands. We are the last man standing for some of those brands, meaning we had the brands book created, we were launching the initial brand campaigns and so on, and that makes it an interesting business. So the process we use, so we started the firm as a consulting company. This is important. We are a consulting DNA company, which means we are not an agency where you basically put people to deliver something. So there will be a principal, a consultant, that is going to take the direction of how the business goes, right? The second piece that is important is we love operational excellence. So it means having the hands dirty, learning by the data, learning by how, the feedback loop brought us an insight, and that will go back to the consulting team to actually fine tune the strategy. Having this inside made us learn a couple of things. First, we don't have salespeople anymore. So you don't have someone going around to knock on doors and say, hey, look at how great we are. We have senior consultants, which means any hour spent with one of those consultants is valuable. And we also changed a bit the model the last few years, but we pride ourselves to really bring people that are very much senior in what they do, which means we don't have like the senior wandering around with an army of analysts that are crunching data behind. We really try to bring the expertise where it is mostly due. And we have a operational desk basically that delivers whatever needs to be delivered, like with a project management office, and we follow that listening, define, create, activate, impact, engage, retain, optimize workflow, which is something that I've been testing for 20 years. If someone is asking me a future-proof methodology that manages a funnel that is always going to be true, I'm saying to people the golden KPI is changing behaviors of an audience, from you didn't know the brand to you consider the brand to now you're basically contextually considering to buy. And it's just that it happens faster. We have the data to actually capture that contextual behavior change, and we can actually anticipate it now with the help of AI. So I'm just looking at the question that some of you have. Yeah. Okay. So you're saying there is a lot of background noise. Yeah. Okay. People will leave the office in literally 3 minutes. So hopefully you're not going to hear. I have my headset, so hopefully there will be no noise. How did you get my contact to be able to invite me to this session tonight? So that's a good question. Actually, we have a database where we basically invite people. So you could be, as a company, right? You could be invited because we've done an event and we invited you in the past to one of the events. We participate a lot to Reuters event, to TechX. So really, really different opportunities to maybe have, your email in that database. I don't know. So we can check. I'm definitely going to take your point seriously. Then the structure, right? So we have few elements that defines how we organize the firm. We have a consulting crew, right? So that is easy. This is the front line of the firm. We have kind of a delivery crew, which is on the opposite side of the L. And we have basically the venture team that is working on the innovation side of the conversation. What this venture team is doing is helping the open innovation ecosystem, usually startups, to bring them closer to corporations. So instead of creating and developing with a tech team everything from scratch for each customer, the philosophy that we took 10 years ago, around 8 to 10 years ago, we decided to actually look into the ecosystem of startups and bring them closer to the corporations, because they were not doing it that well, or they were doing it, but it was not impacting their top or bottom line. And we felt there was something to do there. And on the other side, we also identified that talent development was a huge opportunity to develop people. And the idea with this institute basically is to create specific masterclasses for leaders that are trying to adopt, for example, back in the day, we were doing a lot of social media, sensitive, the master classes. But today it's AI in commercial operation. We also did a lot of non-personal promotion learning, for sales rep. So it's basically anything that can upscale a pharmaceutical company, for example, from within, instead of always relying on consultant. That is also something that I feel is a huge value add. Is not to always bring someone from outside and have a black box. So we wanted to transmit the virus. And some of you might know me from the work I personally did at Guidon Richter or Ferring, where I tried to transmit this virus to many, many people. Inside, if one day I can bring one of my Ferring colleagues, back from back in the day, I'm pretty sure they will tell you I'm exactly the same as you see me here. I was exactly the same as I was in those steering committees or those meetings. So venture as a service, we talked about this. Most of the time, a regulated company has a corporate venture firm, a CVC, and the CVC is building a portfolio that is pretty late stage, or at least post Series A, where there is a strong validation. And the opportunity here is to actually identify how to integrate earlier stage company, which brings actually customers to the earlier stage company, and there is also a safe space to those startups to work with those pharma companies or banks or whatever. The reason is because of the slow pace of those regulated industries, they can actually kill a startup. And I've seen it. I cannot disclose names, but we've seen it. We've seen promises, SOWs signed but never executed. So, and this is where we are very, very careful. So we managed to find a model with this team of investing $1 in the ecosystem of innovation, or 1 francs for the Swiss around us, to actually prove that $1 can be turned into a top line revenue, which is an 18 months return on investment proof, not 5 years. In less than 2 years, our job was to say, if you give us 5 million to invest in the ecosystem, it will impact your value chain by X, or it will actually save money on the bottom line by X, right? Depending. So that's basically how we managed to exist. And I can give you an example if this is something that is interesting. Yeah, or Delphine. Yeah, no worries. Thank you. So we can carry on. Incubation acceleration bootcamp, as we said, this is something that is unfortunately not enough done, right? So training teams that are not bringing the reality of, for example, a tech topic. Like I hear a lot about AI recently. That people want to have hands-on workshops. And our philosophy is either to bring startup or to bring big tech, or to bring actually a brand that is using this, like Booking.com, just to think of it. They have a huge team. I've met them 2 years ago at the TechX event, and they were huge. Like they had like an enormous budget to tackle those questions. Of course, they are a pure player, and this is where I was interested to cross those regulated industry with fast-moving brands. And of course, scouting diligence. You always have people trying to buy, technology, right? And this is also because we have ICE. And this is actually the link. If people ask me, why do we have Allegory Capital, and why do we invested our time, and are we building a fund to support those startups? This is strategic for us, because on one hand, we are building our own portfolio, but on the other hand, we can also offer a great perspective to corporation and to startups where we see it fits. And these are 2 separate teams, 2 separate entities, but obviously, it's useful. The Institute, yeah. So this is something that we have. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but it's usually consultant that we have on the bench, on one end. So if you're a consultant, and if you are not fully engaging with a client, and you are like 66%, dedicated to a company, the rest of the percentage, we are actually going to ask you to help us upscale some of the other brands or other companies we have. So it's a great way for us to create connections and also reuse the knowledge of people. So who is the best consultant profile I can think of? You are coming from a corporation. You hated the politics at your corporation. Your chief commercial officer is not moving away, or your chief marketing officer is not going to move away anytime soon. And you're basically spending 95% of your time on doing meetings, and they are usually not always fun. So what we wanted to do is to actually get those people that were looking for a way out, bringing them inside the same type of companies, building the same type of great impact, except that you're going to work with the same potential colleague without the politics attached. So we like this model. Actually, I love this model myself. I applied it to my career. And the feedback I can give you after doing this for 15, 20 years is you get bigger project than a FTE or solo contributor inside the department, usually because you're also executing faster with the teams outside the company, and you're also having the benefit of cross-fertilization. That is also very great to compare what's working for the banking industry. I usually use the banking industry as a good example of an industry that reinvented itself in the last 20 years compared to pharma. And I give an example in my conferences is it's easy to send money to anyone in the world. It's so complicated to send a second opinion on lab result to a doctor. It's almost impossible to just, in one click, send us a lab result for a second opinion. And that is the sad reality of our healthcare system. Moving on, so the consulting piece, usually when we hire you as a consultant, we identify your industry point. So I recently, maybe he will recognize himself. I met someone from the eye care industry, right? A senior executive from the eye care industry, great, smart guy. And, he wanted to find something new. He didn't want it to be stuck with one brand. He wanted to have a couple of different brands to work on. He was on the commercial excellence side of the business. These are great consultants for us because we do have eye care companies we talk to, and he could be a great link or a great added value for those companies because he has 20 years experience as well in those industries. So same for luxury brands. You might actually ask, why do we have luxury brands in that regulated industry? It's actually historic. We bought a company in 2015 that had actually a lot of experience with luxury brands and luxury watches. And being in Switzerland and having a bunch of luxury watch clients, this is how we kept a legacy of those brands. The interesting bits, and I'm going to give a little secret here, there is some transferable tactics between the exclusive brands that are very much opinion leader led, very community driven, very special in the way you handle the customer experience, and actually the world of healthcare professional, when you have symposium, congresses, very high level influencer in the world of therapeutic areas and science. And there is an interesting shift of tactics that you can test on one and apply to the other. And that's basically how we ended up being a bit creative in symposium. And if some of my colleagues I worked with on being innovative during congresses and symposium, some of the ideas we got there came from the luxury businesses. So here we go. You got the secret. And the affairs division, it's a little bit more broad. We tend to keep it broad because we also have people interested to have us coming from the pharma industry. The knowledge we got from the pharma industry is pretty highly searched for nutrition, for example, medical devices that they are closer to life science anyway. But you're going to have, those, I would say, regulated industry that are like life insurance is a good example. A life insurance company in the US will actually prefer to have a company that had an expertise in the world of healthcare. On the delivery side, pretty much, the classical verticals you can find. We have a tech team, we have a creative studio, we have a marketing team. We also have a project management office, which we call the Kaizen Citadel, which we are recruiting for. And we have a business service team. So the jobs that we have open, the Kaizen Citadel role is pretty important, and I'm going to share a little bit how this works together. We changed the model on this 2 years ago to actually switch to a freelancer market. So before we had all those people as employees when in the US, a graphic designer, a web developer, we were hiring those people. But since COVID happened and a lot of people wanted to have a different, I would say, way of living, I don't know how you call that, but a different style of delivering value. Yeah, we switched to a gig economy model, which seems to please everyone. So anyway, so that's how we structure it. It helps us scale as well. We have customers mostly in the US nowadays, so it's also helping us cross the Atlantic easier with people in the right time zones. And that's why we have no limits anymore to recruit people on those agencies or deliveries models, because we work with Deal.com, and Deal is a great platform to basically have contractors and vendors everywhere. So our customers love that because we remove the complexity of having vendors. Yeah. The engagement model also is a very different approach. I don't know the others, but basically I share what we've been designing for the last 10 years. We build teams, sometimes for a company, like a total team for brand. And a good example will be if you have a pharmaceutical company launching a drug on one end, and they really want to focus their best brain on that new drug. But somehow the old molecule that is still pumping the money to pay the bill needs something, right? Needs some efforts there. So the idea and the model we have is we bring the power of, digital channels, marketing automation, whatever you call it, those tactics we've been using. We call that non-personal promotion, basically. And we keep the lights on with a minimum footprint of CapEx and OpEx, while the company will shift the other teams on the juicy, new, politically shiny object in the room. And then after a couple of years, what happens, that team that we created, that could be medical affairs, marketing, technology, graphical designer, whatever, right? This team that we created, it can be opted in by the clients as a physical team. And that is what I call the performance studio. It's basically they buy like 5 people in one set. And that is an interesting relationship we got with some of those companies, because we get to be the trusted agent. When shit hits the fan, they call us. When they need to hire quickly and they don't have someone, they can call us. And we have also great partners. I'm thinking of some of the people at Concentrix, Netino, WebHelp, that helped us also on the marketing side find talents very quickly, because those guys are huge in terms of footprint. And we have also those partnerships that helps us really go niche in countries or in technical areas where it's difficult to recruit. I'm not going to spend time on the pricing, but this is something also that is interesting. We are very transparent. So in terms of the pricing grid, this pricing grid is actually on our website. So I know this will make some of the people who sometimes we compete with smile, but yeah, we believe in the best ID wins, and the best performance wins. So we are not political beasts. We are, I will say, the technocrat type of creatures. And for us, it's actually great if there is more competition to push the bar. We prefer to actually fight with the best brain possible to win, right? So that's basically is a small presentation I wanted to do on this. I just want to go to the orchestration on how this is structured. So we have those business units. They are basically in two different corridors. One is basically an advisory team, really working purely on a consulting principle. The other one is a delivery, and those two basically are client of each other. So whenever there is a dashboard, for example, that needs to be delivered on a monthly basis to a client, and you need to have those insights, not just the report, but the insight that goes with it, we bring the consulting team in. And whenever we need to have basically, I don't know, like a mock-up for a workshop, we need to have like someone who quickly draw on it. Like literally in a workshop, you need a graphical designer. The designer will mock up the ideas of the team live during the workshop. And that helps us get super fast. So I just wanted to give you, a kind of a feel of how it works. Let me just go now on my computer. I'm going to explain that Kaizen Six Sigma piece, because this is a question that I see on my screen here. So why Kaizen? What is Kaizen Six Sigma? Let me share this. Let me remove that one and let me share this. And we're already around 30 minutes, so I'm not going to stay too long. So most of you know what is project management. I'm not going to debate what is project management. Maybe not all did a training with a black belt, a green belt, or a Kaizen Six Sigma type of training. But if you did, you will recognize some of those words. There is a pretty strong position we took a few years ago, and it's going to shock some of you because we basically don't believe that agility and Scrum works everywhere. And we've seen a lot of projects that are not scalable because of that Scrum agility conversation. Everyone wanted to push a project that was a digital project, for example. And in the RFP or the specification, they were saying it needs to be agile. And we don't believe that a company that has a steering committee with a lot of doors can actually do it. So we took this approach where we say, okay, if we are around the individual and we need to basically create sprints where a bubble of individual contributor needs to go fast and take the post-it and deliver, it works. We've done it. It works beautifully because they are outside of the complexity of steering committees and those gate-to-gate waterfall models. But if you have a waterfall model, which most of the regulated companies do by design, then that is very difficult to protect, except if you are a separate company in the garden with a new code that is purely focused on innovation, for example. So in that sense, we look at the organizational level of where we need to bring value. Usually, we bring a sense of fighting waste at the team level because people have rituals and habits. And when we come after 2 years of execution of a project, there is fat we need to remove. That's why we use Kaizen here. Whenever you have to basically identify the minimum viable product that can scale, and we need to basically really get down to whatever someone needs to understand to execute, then we use Six Sigma. We need to reduce the amount of errors. We need to reduce the deviations, the regressions. That is Six Sigma at play, and that's at the organization level. And when you have to penetrate the market, differentiate, innovate, integrate innovation, and you need to basically make sure that it is penetrating the value chain in the next 2-3 years, we use lean thinking. So what I'm showing you here is not new. I'm not promoting that we invented this. What we did is just orchestrating it and using it smartly whenever it is relevant. And that's why this agility of using the right framework for the right company size, for the right lifecycle management is what made some of our projects successful. And when I give you an example of a successful project, there will be, for example, questions to scale a campaign in 50 countries in less than 2 months with all the translation, the approvals, and so on, which is a huge job to do, not only for us internally between the consulting and delivery teams, but also with the customers, between them. We only are able to do those 90 days or 60 days delivery for 50 countries because we use those models. Okay. So without changing gear, so if you want to connect with us and to look at the jobs, there is this career sites. So we do have, if you applied, we do have your application. We are just swamped in the behalf of the HR colleagues that are helping the company look into everyone. There is 2 information I need to share with you. First, there is a question on whether you are fit for our company or maybe one of our future job opening within a customer, like a delegated role, right? So that is why we basically have a lot of delays in debating whether we keep or not. And also it's very sad, and we got that feedback before, that we say no to a candidate, and basically the week after he is a good fit for one of the pharma company that just happens to need someone who speaks Italian, for example. So it's just frustrating for everyone to basically just say no to a lot of people. So this is accurate. This is not a marketing play. Those jobs exist. And actually, in Switzerland, you cannot bullshit about this. You basically have a penalty if you bullshit about your job. So those jobs really are in our roadmap. And obviously, we have the US side that's also attracts a lot of efforts. So we need help there. So if you're on the other side of the ocean, in around the New Jersey area, we do have some openings there. So most of the time when you pass the first gate, you're going to receive, this is like of the business case we share. The second gate, after you talk to an HR person. So first you talk to a business person, then you talk to the subject matter who recruit, then you talk to an HR person. And basically you will have a case that is representative of what we receive as a brief from our customers, which is usually, for example, launching a product, right? So that's for the brand tech specialist is usually an interesting case. So you will have a case like that, and you will have to answer it. And this is to understand the way you think. So you cannot, honestly, you can push that to a ChatGPT and have ChatGPT giving you like a structure, but during the conversation, this is how we will ask the question and see if you adapt your thinking, your critical thinking, to situation that might occur. Okay, so that's pretty much how we can discuss. Then something that also we receive as a question is, do we have like a guide? Yes, we do have a guide when you join the company, and I'm happy to give that as well in the comment section. I think it's well made. We have a contributor handbook basically that explains who we are, how we work, what our value, basically what I explained in this communication here. So just to explain a little bit how we act, how we work actually, from a culture perspective. So this is something we believe that could give you a slight feel of how we operate, and if you like it, and if this is something that fit, with your way of working, then that's great. So this is everyone who works with it, even freelancers. We ask them to sign those documents. That goes as well for the code of conduct, because our customers are asking us to make sure people behave, with the code of conduct that their industry is pushing. So that's something that is important. Okay, so yeah, so question, would you recommend a junior to join a company or similar agency? So I would say I started my career in the service side. So definitely you see a lot of shit happening on the service side, much more than the cozy seats, of your corporation. I'm not saying corporations are not great. It's fantastic. I've been there, but I would say if you are curious and you want to surf on the wave of new technologies, emerging channels, and new trends, yes, definitely for a junior person, jump on it. It's great. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of experience that you're going to get in. In our firm, I would say we do have junior positions that are more on the delivery side, that are usually with someone senior. So it takes 3 months to train people on our methodologies. I can show you some of the methodologies we do use. So, for example, here I'm going to use brand DNA. Yeah, here we go. I'm going to use a brand DNA methodology as an example. Hopefully I can have one. If I don't, that's fine. Yeah, okay. So I'll just take one example. And so this is a creative methodology that basically help the graphical design team to connect with the marketing claim messages, and that basically to do it for all the methodology we have is taking usually few weeks, at least 3 months, and you work with a peer that upscale you. So it does involve a lot of time from ourselves, and we're not looking to basically just have like someone just clicking on the button on the platform. That's, for us, that's not going to be future proof. So if you get a job to implement, technology or AI or a campaign, that's great. But if you are really at the end of the funnel, just clicking on the button every day, automation is going to kill your job. That's it. So thank you for watching. Hopefully opening up and sharing a little bit more the behind the scene of how we operate is interesting, or at least give you less mystery about who we are and how we execute. There is a full team that I represent on my behalf here that are like fantastic people that really enjoy what they do. They are motivated, they are great brains, they have great expertise. So if you are someone who really likes to get the job done and really is motivated to get a real expertise in moving the line of an industry, I've been doing it and I liked it really a lot, in the pharma industry. I like discovering other industries, and this is great. Key success factor. Oh yeah, there is a question. So Manju, okay. So what are Kainjoo key success factors that make clients choose you over other boutique consulting firms? Yeah, it's a good question. I think the expertise. I think so the way we get clients is not so much by doing promotions, like advertising, like a classical brand. So it's usually our clients that bring us other clients. So one of the way we see this happening is someone says, "Oh, who helped you launch this drug? Who helped you shuffle the way you handle this particular aspect of your business?" And those decision makers basically spread the word, and we get brought to the table. So it's actually I would say the experience, the methodologies that we have. Also, the people, we have a low churn. So usually people will stay between 2 to 3 years in our firm before moving to another role, which means usually they do a minimum of 2 cycles, which is like 4 to 6 years, which is not too bad, right? So we have this strong culture that unites us, and I think people also feel it when they work with us. I think they feel that we are very, very picky on the quality. And so one of the example I can share is at least we don't like change requests, and the consultant in the loop is the one making sure that there is no, like, we go back to the customer, to ask for an additional budget. Usually the consultant is the gatekeeper, and that, I think, having a consultant in the loop, like a medical affairs person, people will appreciate the reflex to say, "Oh, we decided not to do that because it's not compliant for that market." Yes, so graphic designer, yes, so we do have places for graphic designer, but usually they are delegated to a brand. So before we had like huge multi-brand type of graphic designers, and it's not that I don't like this model, but it's very difficult to grasp what a brand tonality is and creating like that relationship with the brand. I can show you, for example, let me just go. I can show you, for example, on one of the brand we created from scratch for a client, and it took a lot of time on my artistic director, and she did a great job. But what I'm trying to say, it took time to create a best. Okay. So this is a US company, big firm. They have like a huge success in the US. So you will see here that my graphical designer plus the artistic director use a methodology that you saw before, right? So they use the brand anatomy language here to create that brand expression. they also worked with marketing to create, that core metrics messaging. And as you can see here, like once we have that book, then we get a designer for that brand, for everything, like from websites to social media so it's the same person that does it. And I think that creates a consistency, a legitimacy. I think it's better if we don't have this kind of agency model where you shift. I think with time you get a lot more quality. Thank you, guys. So it's already past 40 minutes that I've been talking to you. Hopefully you like it. So follow us on social media if you want. We asked basically my team if I'm needed more often here to speak. They said yes. Instead of just speaking about money and venture capital and startups all the time, they said, go back to your early love and speak about also the transformation of brands. Now that we have a lot of AI, disrupting it. There are great stuff that we're working on, which is surprising, when it comes to Gen AI and brands. I was very skeptical 2-3 years ago from the quality of what we've seen, but I have to say, more recently, it's being pretty nice. So yeah, so hopefully this is something that was. Yeah, you have not seen it. So this is basically I was showcasing things that you were not seeing. But yeah, so basically this is the visual identity piece that I was referring to. And that's basically why such a brand, I think, will use the work of a designer on an everyday basis, because there is so much velocity channel. And again, when I say AI, now you can create the frame, the ID, the artistic direction with a graphical designer. But I think AI will be used to cut the size for social media posts. Like a content factory type of a model will work well, but I think the essence, right, the spark still needs to be brought by a human in the loop. Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm going to end the stream. Ask a question in the comment section. And if you want more, yeah, just follow us. Thank you so much. Take care, guys.